Hey guys, it's Katie at scrappinkaty.ctmh.com, and I am going to make the first two card patterns from the May through August 2020 Craft with Heart card subscription. So I'm just going to pull out those card bases. Again, remember that the card bases that come with this subscription are pre-printed, and then I'm also going to pull out the die cuts that go along with these two designs. Now, if you watched my unboxing video, you know that the die cuts are clearly labeled for the card, and then there is a solid black line that separates the card designs. So I'm just going to punch out the cards for cards 1 and 2 and then put those in piles. And keep in mind, you get to make 2 of each card design. So that's what I'm going to be doing here in this video. The first is going to do just like intended and just as shown. And then I'm going to try to kind of mix things up and kind of show you what you can do on your own with either your stash or even with the things that came with the card kit. So on this particular card, card number 1, I'm just showing you the pre-printed base, and some of those even have shadows around the edge to make it look dimensional. So on the instructions, it just says to pull the stamp off the carrier sheet, ink it up, and stamp it directly onto the card base. Now, you will want to season your stamps. You can either do that with that eraser or your skin. And so I'm just going to ink that up with the block and the ink it came with. Now I have pulled that second card base, and I'm going to change the sentiment up just a tad, again, from the stamp set that comes with the card kit. And then this one is going to say, "Thank you kindly." So I'm going to clean those up, get those stamps back on my carrier sheet, and definitely close that ink pad so I don't get it everywhere. So the next instruction says to go ahead and attach your die cuts, and you can use 3D foam tape if you want some dimension. For this one, I'm just going to glue those larger leaves directly down onto the card base. Then I am going to pull some thin 3D foam tape for those smaller leaves, just to kind of add just a little step up in dimension. And then for the flower, I am going to pull some other 3D foam tape and then use those in between. Now I am not ruffling the petals on this flower at all. I am going to add that little center to the flower, and again, I'm not adding any shimmer or anything. This card basically is meant to be just as it is intended. Now I have pulled one of the squares from the shaker window foam and acetate kit or package that comes with this kit for that center flower, and I just love to go ahead and ink up a sentiment on the inside. So I'm going to do that at the bottom right, and then add some little bitty tiny hearts. Now I am going to pull my peach ink pad, but any ink pad you have will work. And then that card is pretty much done. So for the second one, I am going to again add just those larger leaves with tape adhesive. Same thing with the smaller leaves, but this time I am going to kind of ruffle the edges and kind of bring those up to add some dimension. And then for the flower itself, I am going to adhere that top flower down, and then I'm going to take the petals for that top flower and kind of push them up to add dimension, and then add that center yellow piece. And then peel off those 3D foam squares and stick it on. Now for the inside of this card, I am going to ink up another sentiment and ink it up in that black ink. Pardon me. And then season it with my arm or the back of my hand, and go ahead and ink that up to the top middle of that card. So for the second design, again, these card bases are pre-printed. You want to use the side that has the splatter. And so the first instruction is to go ahead and ink up those die cut circles. And so this particular sentiment I love, so I'm going to use it for both cards, and it says "just a note." But on one of those, there is a tiny little splatter stamp that I am going to ink up in raspberry that will match one of those little strips that we're going to put on the card. And so that is going to kind of be my different part to the second card. So right here it just says start adhering the die cuts. So these die cuts, there's a couple of strips. They're just going to go adhered to the flush to that right side and on top of each other. And then this dovetailed piece is going to kind of overlap both of them. And then that little circle sentiment, I am going to use the center of those shaker window foam, and I'm just going to put those or adhere that down. Now for the inside of the card, I am going to pull one of the stamps off of the stamp set that comes with the kit, ink that up in black, and go ahead and stamp that down on the top center. So it says, just a note, you rock. That could really be for anything. So for this other card, I am going to just change things up a bit. I'm going to go ahead and adhere those pieces down just like I did on the other one. And then I am going to add that circle. But before I add the circle, I am going to pull some thread from my stash and do one of my thread jumbles. And when I do that, I just kind of jumble it up, add some tape adhesive, glue that down, and then add 3D foam tape to the back of that circle, and then adhere it over that thread jumble. And I think it just adds a little extra something. And remember, this circle also has those paint splatters as well. So for the inside of the card, I am going to still use that sentiment you rock. This time I'm going to put it in the bottom right. I'm going to clean that up, put it back on my carrier, and kind of recap the cards for you. Here is another look at the 4 cards I was able to create in a short period of time using the May through August 2020 Craft with Heart card subscription. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. If you liked what you saw, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. And don't forget to check out my other Craft with Heart videos.